Microsoft Teams, just to kind of let you know what this application is. I know this is a beyond the basics, not a introduction or anything, but Microsoft Teams is really a foundation program, and that's always the way that I've looked at it because of the fact that it's part of your 365 suite of applications. Therefore, it does integrate with all of the other apps. And you're going to see a lot of that here today, of course, because I don't just use Teams when I'm in Teams. I utilize a lot of other applications through Teams also. So what I wanted to get started with here today is really kind of talking first about I'm in the latest and greatest version of Microsoft Teams, and there's been a few changes that have happened to the navigation pane on the left-hand side. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that to get us started here today. So on the left-hand side, of course, you'll know if you have something new that is directed to you in Microsoft Teams by looking at your Teams icon down on your taskbar. You'll see a red circle with a number in it, letting you know how many new things are directly related to you in Teams. When you look at my Teams user interface on the left-hand side, you'll see that I have a new activity and I have a new chat. I happen to be clicked right now, of course, on the calendar, but I can see that I have something new in both of those categories. Now, of course, we'll get to those categories in a moment, but what I wanted to mention is the left-hand side can be modified. Just like in the new Outlook and a lot of other places, we want to modify it for your usage, not keeping it the defaults of what it is that you see. You want to have it work with you. Because if you're like me, I open up Outlook, I open up Teams. Teams is actually in my startup, and I'm in those two programs all day long. I don't want to have to leave my native programs that I'm in all the time to go work on something else, to open something else. So take advantage of those features that you have on the left. A couple of things that I want to mention with that is modifying it. If you want to add something to the navigation pane, you could simply go to the menu to view more apps, choose the app that you want to put on the left-hand side, and then you could pin it by right-clicking on the icon, pin it so that it will stay there. So even if it's not a Microsoft app, like Monday.com, if I have a license to something else, like I do a lot of Adobe Acrobat things, I can actually pin any of that I am working with through Teams. I can have them right here. So don't work harder than you need to. Take advantage of what we have. But I have a couple of that I wanted to mention that I use on a very regular basis. I've added Copilot to my left-hand side because I'm constantly in Copilot. Can I use Copilot through Teams? Absolutely. But if I just want the Copilot app, this is an easy way for me to open it. Now, my laptop does have a Copilot key on the keyboard, so I can launch it that way as well, but I like having the convenience of it right there. Also, I'm an administrator, so I have the admin icon on the left-hand side as well, and I've pinned Microsoft Planner. Can't live without this program, so I love having this here in Teams. So if I click this Planner icon, it's going to take me into the newest version of Planner, of course, because Planner has been updated for Teams, and Microsoft is stating that by the end of the year, the regular Planner app will be updated as well. But of course, when you come into Planner through Teams, you're going to see that it is the latest and greatest, which if you have not been using that yet, highly recommend it, especially for the features with My Day. With the updated version of Microsoft Outlook, having Teams, everything collaborating together, having the access to My Day is essential. Great way to focus in on just what you need to see during your busy. So anyway, that's enough about that for right now. I could spend all day just talking about Planner and these other features. But there's one feature that I'm not sure people are taking advantage of. You can add an app called Meet, M-E-E-T. So just so you can see what it looks like, I have it pinned because I use it on a very regular basis. What it's going to show you is upcoming and past meetings that you've had. You can see I have the up next. So here's my things that I have going on today, going across the top, and you can see it says conflicts with 2 other meetings. So I can actually accept, decline, etc. This is a way to manage just meetings in one central location. So I don't have to worry about going through my whole entire calendar to see and have an awkward kind of a look sometimes. This to me has been fantastic. Also, when I look at my recent category, right now I'm on the tab called recorded, but if I click all, it's going to show me yesterday, this is what I did, here's last week. And you can see on the right-hand side, when I'm kind of hesitating on these, I've got this view recap. Integration all over the place. I don't have to just go to one place to have access to things. This is a simplified list of what I've had going on. And if I need to kind of go back and kind of look at things, it's easier for me to see it this way than jumping through, going to your calendar to all the different dates. So if you haven't been using Meet, highly recommend giving it a try. Enough about that for right now. Let's get back to Microsoft Teams itself. So the navigation pane on the left, modify it for your usage. But let me kind of start at the top and work my way down. If you go to the activities category, it is not just for one thing. You're going to get notifications for all kinds of different things, which is pretty cool. I love this because I don't want to have to go to another program to get an update on something. So this has been revised recently through Microsoft. And one of the things that it's going to give you is the capability of seeing updates to meetings. So if I get an update to a meeting, I can just see it here. I don't have to leave Teams, go to Outlook, go to my calendar and see things, or go to the calendar here in Teams. It's going to notify me right here. It also is going to notify you of other things. Let me kind of give you an example of some of these. I've got a lot of different things going on. So when I've had past meetings, if there's been, like I just had a meeting yesterday and there was some follow-up that we were going to do, I can just click on whatever that meeting was and I can see access to that meeting. But as I kind of go down, take a look at the most recent Power BI information. It's giving me updates to that. But I want to kind of go down here of this new academy through Microsoft Copilot Academy because I subscribe to it. So I got an update for that here. But I want to kind of go down here a little bit. Here, this one. So as I kind of look at the icons as I'm going down, that helps you to know where that activity is coming from. The activity that I just clicked on, which is the last one on my list here for my recent, it has this blue icon, looks like a little recycle symbol kind of. This is coming from approvals. So in SharePoint, document libraries. And we're going to cover this when we do our next session. We're going to see how this approval process works, but the notifications for this. So if we send a document through SharePoint document libraries for approval, we can send a request for approval to multiple people. They will receive a notification via Outlook email, but it also notifies them here in the activities in Microsoft Teams. So there's no way we're going to miss that. And it gives you a link directly to the file. So the whole thing about this is it's utilizing the Approvals app. I don't even know if you knew that there was an Approvals app with your Microsoft 365. You can access it through your Power Apps. So if you go into all your apps for Microsoft, you can actually open this app directly. I could actually have it pinned on the left-hand side here too. So this is an app that we automatically are connected to through Teams. So when I talk about Teams being the hub, it definitely is. I just can't live without it. It just makes my life every day at work so much easier. So I couldn't even imagine 10 years ago how I did things compared to how we are doing things today. But let me go back to the left-hand side and talk about a couple of more things. Oh, by the way, in this activities, you will get notifications if you are at mentioned as well. Notice that up at the top of this activity, I have unread, and then I have at mentions. So if I had at mentions, I could click on that tab to just filter the list to show me at mentions. I don't happen to have any active ones right now, but just so you're aware of that. At mentions, of course, is a big part of using Microsoft Teams. So I will talk about a little bit on that when it comes to the team side. But let me go to the chat for a second. So you could see that I had a new chat because I had the red circle with the 1. So I knew that I had a new chat. And I can actually see that that chat was from a user called student one. So just so you're noticing, when you are on the middle part of the window, there is more than just chats in the chats. So I'll get to the other ones, but notice on the right-hand side, you have this arrow. If you wanted to open that chat in a new window to keep it there, you most certainly could. Also, you have a more options. If you click the more options, there's a pin capability. I really like this because if this is something that I want to have visible all the time, you can pin it. Just like in the new Outlook, you can pin a message to stay at the top. So pinning is nothing new. We've been using pinning for a long time. So I'm happy to have that here in the chat. So I'm going to pin that message, and you can see that it automatically stays in this category at the top called pinned. So if that's something that I'm constantly going back and forth with this particular user, I don't want to kind of lose it in my list, this is an easy way to keep it at the top. So anyway, absolutely love that. So anytime that you're seeing your ... for more options, you definitely want to click on it and see what your choices are. Also, if you look at the top right, when I'm on this specific chat, at the top right, we still get our capabilities with being able to have a call with that person, or if it's a group chat, of course, you can be doing that as well. But you can also start a group conversation. So if I have a single conversation with somebody, you can turn it into a group conversation, because we might be needing to bring somebody in. Because I was actually asking this person, how did their kickoff meeting go? And there was probably other people involved with doing the kickoff meeting for that project. So if I wanted to add, somebody else, a stakeholder or whatever, I could always turn it into a group. And it's going to start a brand new chat message, not override this existing one. Of course, if I had already had a chat with that group of people, it would take me straight to that. But notice that we also have the ... menu. Once again, you're going to want to click on it to see what your choices are. One of the things that I use on a pretty regular basis, because why do I want to jump someplace else if I'm already here, is schedule a meeting. So I can schedule a meeting directly with the person I'm chatting with. So I don't have to go to the calendar or back to Outlook to schedule it. I'm doing it right here. So much easier. And of course, we do have Copilot up at the top right. Copilot is also Copilot in 3 different places on my screen right now. I'm glad, because I use it all the time. So anyway, at the top of your list of your chats, you'll see, of course, the Copilot icon from there as well. So Copilot's all over the place. Hopefully you're using it. Take advantage of it. But what I wanted to mention also is at the very top, you're going to see, of course, who you're chatting with, and then you have your chat tab, but you also have your shared tab. So if there was anything that was shared with that specific chat, that person you're chatting with, you could go to shared. It used to say file, by the way. It now says shared. So they did change that just recently. What that shared does, though, is it allows you to go to the recent category. You can just limit it to just files, or you can limit it to links. Love that feature. So it's really giving us, and by the way, the new Outlook looks the same. So when they updated Teams, and Outlook was updated and then they brought it into Teams as well, we're seeing the same things. We're kind of really learning at one place, and it's being brought to us in every other app as well. So like that they have shared, because it's a lot of different things we share, and we can filter to what exactly do we want to see. So love that capability. Plus it has columns and rows that we can sort by. So they're really making some great improvements. I could go to the right-hand side and do an upload as well to add in additional files and things too. So just so you know that, you got to kind of look around a little bit sometimes and see what are my choices. And there's definitely been some improvements or some enhancements over the past few weeks. So loving those capabilities. But anyway, I want to go back to the chat, because they have changed the chat menu at the bottom. So if I go to type a message, it's a lot different than it used to be. And I really like this. They're really kind of limiting what we're seeing. We used to have so many icons going across from the left to the right at the bottom. They've really condensed that list, which makes sense, just like in the new Outlook. But anyway, you're going to have some quick responses like sounds good, great, depending on what your conversation was, because it changes depending on what you were talking about. But down at the bottom, you're going to see, of course, your formatting. You've got your loop component, that kind of thing. But if you click the plus sign, you'll see your other choices. And they've kind of changed this list. We don't have all of those things that we used to have on the menu, even though it's a pop-up now. You're going to see that you could schedule a meeting from here as well. You could record a video clip. You could set your delivery options from here, which I definitely use, or schedule a message, or attach a file like we used to. But I want to actually respond to this person. But just so you know, Microsoft is very smart, especially when it comes to your coworker. So if you're connected on your domain with other people and you're chatting with that person, are they available right now? Should I even be sending a chat? Is it outside of their working hours? Microsoft will actually notify us in different places to let us know it's outside their working hours. Plus, if you look at their profile circle, so when I look at this student one at the top left here, I know this person last seen 16 minutes ago, they're free all day. I get their information right there. They work 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if I'm trying to send them a chat at 4 p.m., that's outside of their working hours. So do I want to do that? So a lot of times I don't. And the computer's going to let me know that. If I go to communicate with that person, sending them an email, doing a chat, whatever, it's going to let me know it's outside of their working hours. Do I want to delay this? So I'm going to respond back. Let's get something on the, I can't type today, sorry, on the calendar. And I don't want to send it right now. I'm going to go to the right-hand side to the paper airplane, the send icon. I'm going to do a right click. I can choose when I want to send it. So I'm going to choose that I want to send it Friday, but I don't want to send it until 9:30 in the morning, because I know that's they get in the morning and they've got all these things going on. I'm going to click continue. So I can finish up my message, then click the send, and it's going to wait until that date and time to actually send the message. So that's pretty cool that we can actually do that. So if you haven't been using that, highly recommend taking advantage of that. One other thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to kind of these icons that we have at the bottom, I have a Copilot icon. A little disappointed on this, I have to mention. It doesn't look like Copilot. It looks like a pencil with a plus sign. But when you hesitate, it says Copilot. It should be the Copilot icon, I think. But anyway, just so you know that. I'm going to click on the plus sign again, attaching the files, schedule the send. I'm going to go to this feature here called Set Delivery Options. Set Delivery Options. Because when you send a message, it sends it by default as a standard message. But you could send it as an important message or urgent. Notice that when you send something urgent, it says it's going to notify the person every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So the only time you're going to get an urgent notification is, well, depending on your status, it will only send an urgent notification if you have your do not disturb on. Otherwise, nothing else goes through. So if I'm set on do not disturb, but if I'm on, I'm away from my desk, I'm busy, I'll get this urgent notification. The urgent notification comes through Teams, but it also goes via email. So if you're really trying to get a hold of somebody, don't do this on just a standard thing like bring me some coffee or something. You want to make sure that it's relevant information that you need. But you could choose to send this urgent. Notice how it gives the red bar going across the top, says urgent. Call me ASAP, whatever the case. I'm going to go ahead and click send. The person, which is on my phone, just got a notification. It pops up on a banner notification. They got a notification via email, all those other aspects. But just so you know, every 2 minutes, they're going to get that notification again and again until they respond, till they actively go to it and respond. So great feature if you need it. I've only really seriously needed to use it a couple of times because I couldn't get a hold of the person. And I know that they're using their phone. So if you can see my phone here, I got that urgent message down at the bottom here because this is my other user that I was chatting with on my phone. So I love the fact that I don't have to be carrying my laptop with me all the time to have access to Microsoft Teams. Hopefully you're using it on your mobile device as well. I do meetings from there, all kinds of things. Did a meeting from the car the other day, but just so you can see those kind of features. So great features. I'm sure everybody has probably chatted before, but we get some pretty great tools. But up at the very top of this window, just so you know, I do have something pinned. So this is a loop component that I have pinned. So just so you can see, I've got this push pin. And if I click on that loop paragraph, it's going to take me directly within this chat to that loop component. So loop components we can talk about in another session, but just so you know what that meant going across my screen at the top, it's a quick way for me to get back to that loop component so that I can continue to converse with whoever sent it, and we're keeping track of things through it. So pretty great feature. I'll talk about loop components one more time today. But let's navigate to our next option, calendar. Calendar is a lot more than what you think, especially when it comes to creating a Teams meeting. So if you're going to do a Teams meeting, and I'm going to say that tomorrow on Friday, I want to do a Teams meeting and I want it to be at 8 a.m. I can simply go to the 11th on my calendar, click on the 8 a.m. It's going to automatically pop up a window for me to create that appointment. But it's a lot more than just saying, here's what the subject is, here's who I want to invite. Let me take you through a little bit on this. So first off, up at the top of the screen, you're going to be on the details tab, but you also have your scheduling assistant, which of course some of that is being updated. I'm going to say that I'm going to do a department meeting. I'm going to say that student one is going to be required. All those normal things that you've been using. Of course, I could change the date and the time. And by the way, student one is in a different time zone. It's letting me know that. So great way for interaction to know somebody else is not in the same time zone that I'm in right now. But anyway, as you kind of channel, so if this meeting is going to be related to a channel within your Microsoft Teams, you could assign it to that channel. So let's say that it's related to the marketing department and it's related to social media. I could connect it directly to that team channel. But the big thing that I think you need to definitely be taking advantage of is down at the bottom where it says add an agenda. I'm going to choose to add an agenda, and it's a loop component where this is where we can do the collaboration throughout the meeting. So what's going to happen then is we can put in whatever our topics are going to be, and I'm just going to generically type some in. So I can have topic 2, etc. I could add in all the topics for the agenda. I can be putting in meeting notes prior to the meeting, but usually I'm going to do it after I start the meeting. And then we also have follow-up tasks. This to me, I can't live without this now. This loop component being built right in. It's something that we can use before, during, and after the meetings. So I'm not going to do the rest of it until after or during the meeting, because I'll start this meeting just so you could see what's going to happen. So once I have all of that done, and by the way, one more thing about the channel I forgot to mention, we didn't have this prior. Love this feature to be able to connect it to a channel, but send personal invites is a new feature with this, because normally if you attached it to a channel, they didn't get notified unless you put them in the to category up at the top to send it to them. This way, if I slide this on, everybody that is a part of that channel is going to get notified of this message, or of this meeting, I should say. Pretty cool. And other thing that you might want to do is on the right-hand side, the options. Set up the meeting before you start it. So if I wanted to automatically record and transcribe when I start it, I can choose that or go into more options and set up other things before the meeting starts. Make sure you're doing that, because if you're going to have different co-organizers, presenters, whatever the case, make sure that everything is set up right away. Once you're done, I save the changes, of course. But then I'm going to go ahead and just click send. So that is added to, they get their invite, all of that kind of thing. Of course, that's a little bit different now in the new Outlook, but that's pretty cool. But it's going to add it to my calendar like it normally does. But the other thing that I wanted to mention about doing meetings, and this is in your handout, by the way, but at the top right, you can, of course, start a meeting right now, an impromptu meeting, but I'm going to click on the drop-down arrow next to new meeting. because we don't do just regular scheduled meetings. We can do webinars, town halls, virtual appointments, and controlled content meetings. Probably the more common one is going to be the webinar, but these are called templates. And the reason they're called templates is because when you choose one of these, it opens up a new meeting window, of course, but it's going to give you different choices depending on which one you chose. So I use this webinar one all the time for sessions like we're doing here today. So what you can do at the very top is give the webinar a name. And I'm just going to say this is the social media webinar, and it's going to happen on this date at this time, whatever time you want to choose. And then I can be putting in a description. I can have an event group where it will send invitations to co-organizers. I can have external presenters, those kind of things. I'm not going to go through all the aspects of this, but we can say if we want to allow microphones, that kind of thing. I'm just going to click save at the top. So I'm saving the changes that I'm putting in there, but I can always come back and make changes to it at any time. But just so you can see what this is actually going to do. On the left-hand side, once I have that part saved, on the left, I can go to the presenter bios. So if I want to add in to the details page any information about the presenters that I'm having, I can do that. We can also go into theming. So you can be putting in logos, you can have theme colors, those kind of things. There's registration. So we can configure the registration once we send the link or post the link to this meeting. We can actually come in and configure by default, just so you can see, it says the form. When they register, the form is going to include their first name, last name, email address, and Microsoft consent fields. But if you want to add additional fields, like you want to capture their industry, their job title, whatever, you can actually create custom questions too that they need to fill out for attendee. Love that feature. Also, attendee status. So once you have people that are actually registered for the class, you can actually, once this is published, we're not going to see anything right now because I haven't published it yet, but once we invite people, give the link to them and they register, we'll be able to keep track of it. Also, we can configure emails, so they will receive multiple notifications regarding the webinar. We can run reports, we can have access to the recordings, and there's different integration that we can do as well. By the way, I keep getting my notifications for my urgent on my computer and my phone here, so I'm just going to go ahead and respond. Thanks, I will call soon. Just so it stops every 10 minutes or every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So just so you know, I'm going to respond to that. But just so you can see all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the details tab where I started, and up at the top of the details, I could manage apps to have available during this webinar. Also, I could go back into the meeting options and make changes to it, whether I want them to be able to use their cameras, their microphones, that kind of thing. When you are done, you're going to go to the top right and click Publish Site. I'm going to click Publish. So making sure it's ready to publish, I'm going to click Publish. Not that you can't go back and make changes to it, but then I can copy the link. So I'm going to click the copy icon on the right-hand side. I can now put it in a channel. I can add it to a post. I can put it in my SharePoint. I can put it via email. However you want to be inviting people, you have the link. So you put the link on your website, whatever. You can embed it as an object, however you're going to do it, attach it to a button. Then people can register. But like I said, we're always going to be able to come back to this. So this has all been saved. I can see at the top left, it's already been published. I'm just going to go ahead and close it. So I close that window. It has been added to and you can see it right here. It says social media webinar. This was the date and time I chose for it today. And you can see that it's got this different icon at the bottom right that's letting me know that it's a webinar. If I go back to this, if I click just once on it, I can join it. I can open up the window, but if I double click on it, it will open the full thing back again. So if I needed to make any other changes to it, I have different tabs going across the top. So I could go back and chat, I could go to shared, I could do all these different things. So just so you can see that we have those options going on. Okay. Now I'm not really going to do anything with that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and close that because I want to jump back for just a minute and go to that meeting that I scheduled for Friday. And I'm actually going to click join. Now we are already connected with a meeting, so I won't use things like my camera and my I'll mute my speaker here, but some etiquette, just some things just to maybe remind yourselves of. Make sure that when you are doing a meeting that you do look at your camera to make sure that your background's okay and everything. Um, I've had to make a lot of adjustments. I'm in a different location today, so I had to really kind of adjust where I'm sitting at to get better lighting and, just make sure everything is good to go. Also on your microphone, make sure that your microphone is using whatever option you want it to be using. Of course, you can go into some other settings as well. But once you're ready to go ahead and click on your join, and you'll be able to open up that meeting and get it started. Now, of course, other people that are invited to it, of course, can join. They'll get a notification that it actually started. And I'm going to have my computer here. I want this person to join me as well. So recording and transcripts already started because I started that meeting and it was just a regular meeting. But what I wanted to show you that's going to happen by default is it automatically is showing you on the right-hand side because I did the agenda. It's showing the agenda. So on the right-hand side, if I wanted to modify the agenda, I can come in and do that, and so can anyone that I invited. We can be having someone come in and put in our meeting notes. So we talked about old business. Oops, I can't type today. New business, that kind of thing. So you could see that student one has just joined me also. So joined from my phone. But anyway, just so you could see that that person is on the call with us. On the right hand, oops, I got spell check going on here to fix my misspelled words, but that's okay. Down at the bottom, whoever is invited and or a participant of the meeting on the right hand side where it says follow up tasks, we can be adding in tasks as the meeting is going on. So if I have a task that I want, report on new sites, and then I want to assign that to student one, and I could put in a due date and things like that. Student one is going to get notified that they were actually assigned to that. So we could continue to add in different things as needed throughout the class. I could add in more tasks. I even have Copilot available because Copilot is an icon at the top. So if you're doing transcribing and stuff, it will help you to recap your meeting. Or if I attend the meeting late, I could actually ask Copilot to catch me up on what I missed. Copilot can do, I love the recap that the Copilot will do for us also at the end. But just so you're noticing your icons at the top, if I don't need the notes, I can click the icon to close it. If I need it again, I can reopen it. So whoever is in the meeting that's going to be managing some of that, they can be opening and closing it as needed. But anyway, enough about that for right now. I'm going to go to the drop down arrow, not just leave, especially because I'm the organizer. I never want to just leave the meeting because everybody else is still in it. You want to click on the drop down arrow and make sure that you end the meeting for everyone. So it's ending it automatically for other people. Do that as soon as you possibly can when you're in the meeting. So what's going to happen with all that information is if I go back to that meeting now, I'm going to click edit because the meeting has already been done. I could double click or click edit. It's going to give me a rundown at the top that I will see. Here's the scheduling assistant tab. Here's the attendance tab. If we had used other things like whiteboards or things like that, we would have access to all of that. So just so you can see, this is a great way to be able to really see what's going on with a meeting. Here's going to be, now my upload failed for whatever reason. I'll have to check on that. But anyway, just so you could see, once the recording was done, the recording is going to be here as well, which if I click on it, it will take me into Microsoft Stream. And from there, I could get the transcripts. I could use Copilot to help me answer questions about the meetings, all kinds of things. So if you're not familiar with going into Stream, you should get to know that application. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I love the fact that, we have these capabilities, especially with everybody kind of, has one person using a word processing program to take the meeting notes, somebody else, we need more tasks that are going to be added in, whatever the case might be, we still have access to all of that. If I come to the details tab, I can come down to my loop component and I can continue to add in tasks that need to be done. So if I go back and I'm doing a after meeting, talk with some people, and it's like, oh yeah, we also need to add this task. It's created a loop component inside the loop component for the follow-up task. So it's giving us a table here where I could always come back and add in new tasks. I could assign it to whoever needs to be assigned that was a part of that meeting, invited or attended, because sometimes people can't make it, but they can still follow up. And by the way, they can follow things now as well, which is pretty cool. But anyway, I could choose the due date. It's going to go into the bucket for the to do by default, but we do have the capability of inserting new buckets if we needed to. So if we want to be organizing it like we do in Microsoft Planner with different buckets, we can do things like that. So absolutely love the capabilities that we have now. So meetings are much easier to work with and they're more organized than they've ever been. But let's move on to our next topic. I'm going to go to the calls just for a second. I'm not sure if you're using calls. I love the call capability. I can take a call on my mobile device, whatever app it is that I'm using for Microsoft Teams, online or desktop, whatever. But the nice thing is people can leave you a voicemail message. So if somebody tries to call you, like maybe I stepped away to go to somebody else's office or something, I'm going to get a banner notification letting me know somebody is calling me. And then I can either accept the call, decline it, or I forgot what my other choice was, but that's okay. But anyway, if I do accept it, we're going to be on a phone call where we could share our screen and do all those normal things. But also, if you don't answer, and that's after 20 seconds by default, it's going to automatically go to a generic voicemail message. I've not changed mine, but I will show you where you can change it so that you're aware of the settings in Teams, because you definitely want to change those. But when it comes to the voicemail message, you're going to get notified via email, and you're going to get notified, of course, in Teams in the calls category that you have a voicemail. It even goes to the activities to let you know you have a voicemail. So there's no way you're ever going to miss a call and a voicemail message that came in. So anyway, this is where I could go. And once again, we've got those same tabs going across the top. I'm on the all category, but if I just want to go to voicemail, here's a voicemail message that I previously had. And on the right-hand side, I could play it or just read what the voicemail was. So, and that's going to be the case in Outlook as well. So you get the words depending on how it doesn't always come across very well with my voice, but I usually just listen to it. But you get those choices. I'm going to move on because a lot of things to cover yet. If you go to Teams, of course, Teams is where you will have your teams, whether they are created here in Teams or if it is a team that was created through a SharePoint site. Because when, of course, you create a SharePoint site, if it's a Teams site, you automatically get a team here in Teams, like my clinic. That's a SharePoint site. But if I go to that social media for this marketing department, remember how I had scheduled that meeting? I'm on the post tab, and you can see that department meeting was automatically added to the post tab for that channel. And when the meeting was going on, it would actually show next to the social media name, it would show a video recording camera that is letting people know that the meeting is going on. They can actually open the appointment right from here or join it. So they could click on it to open it or just simply join it directly here from the post, which can be, OneNote notebooks, it can be task lists, it could be Microsoft lists, it can be a link to a SharePoint site, whatever it is that you need. But the thing to keep in mind is when you go to the Files tab, the Files tab is a SharePoint document library. So when we talk about that connectivity between the applications, Teams is fully connected with SharePoint because Teams is a front end to SharePoint. So even if the team is created here in Teams, it creates a SharePoint site. So when I come into this social media, which by the way, notice it has recordings. It has a folder called recordings from 6 minutes ago because I did that meeting and I connected it to the channel. So all the recordings for the meetings will be in the recordings folder. That's pretty awesome. But if I wanted to go to SharePoint, all I have to do is go to the menu across the top that is related to the actual document library and click Open in SharePoint. It will automatically open the SharePoint site that is directly connected Sorry, it was opening on my other screen. It will open the site that is directly connected to your SharePoint. So just so you could see, it will do that. So it took me to the document library, but of course on the left-hand side, I have access to all of my normal SharePoint things. Now, this isn't a SharePoint class, so I won't stay in there, but back to Microsoft Teams. In your Teams, you really want to be using the apps across the top, the tabs that are going to be most relevant to share depending on the channel. Now, speaking of channels on the left-hand side, I'm actually going to go to my accounting department team. And in this accounting department team, I have a general channel, which, by the way, if I right click, I can go in and rename. So newer feature, we can rename the general channel. We weren't able to do that before, but now we can. But just so you could see, I've got this managers channel. This managers channel, as you can see when I hesitate, it says private. This is a private channel that is only available to specific owners, members, or guests. So they have to be a part of the team to begin with, but if they are, they could be a part of a private channel. We can create private channels just for specific users. So highly recommend doing that. Like managers is a great example of a private channel because I only want the managers to be able to see it. If they're not a member of that private channel, they won't even see it on the list. Only the people that are a part of it can see it. But great way to be able to have confidential information maybe. But there is an option here also, this tax info. This is called a shared channel. Shared channel, I have this one because I have a tax person that isn't part of the accounting department, but I have some information that I want in that channel specifically for them. They don't need access to anything else in the accounting department team, just this channel. So I have a shared channel that they just have access to this channel, nothing else in the team. Fantastic. But if you are the person that is creating new teams, you don't want to invite anyone until after you've done a couple of things. If I right click or go to the menu, I'm going to go into manage team. So I right clicked on the name of the team. I'm going to go into manage team. This is where, yes, you could set up your owners, your members, your guests, but we all know that. I want to go to the settings. The settings is extremely important. The big piece to this is member permissions. By default, all of these options under member permissions is checked. I uncheck them because allow members to create and update channels. I don't want people to do that. I don't want other people that aren't owners to be able to create new channels. Also allow members to delete a channel or restore a channel that's been deleted. I don't want that. So just so you can see, you should read through this. So before I invite anybody, I come in here. I make sure that I have some channels already created and some apps on the channels. I come into this settings because I want to make sure it is set up appropriately before I invite people. Otherwise, they're going to come in and, wow, somebody could go ahead and, if they're a member, they could go ahead and delete things that I had already added and whatever. So we want to avoid that. If these were all checked, so if I had all of these checked, if I go to guest permissions, they would be allowed to do things as well. So if it's allowed for the member, it's allowed for a guest. So as you can see, it says allow guests to create and update channels, allow guests to delete channels. You know, guests are actually people outside of your organization. They're outside of your domain. I most likely do not want them to be able to delete any channels or create new ones. So anyway, just so you can see, those are things to consider. The other thing is under the @mentions. Show members the @mention for the team. So there can be different @mentions and give members the options to @mention a channel name. Very important because if I have a private channel and I want to @mention everybody that's a part of that private channel or shared channel, I can just do an @mention, put the name of the channel, and it will @mention all those people. But the last thing in this I want to mention is tags. Up at the top, we have this option called tags, and I have two custom tags created, which are actually at mentions. So when it comes to using the at mention capability, you know how you can at mention a person and it stands out to them and they get notified, that kind of a thing? Well, what if you want to at mention multiple people? You would have to at mention each person individually. This allows you to create an at mention that is custom. So you can have multiple people like this social media. I have two people that are a part of that at mention. I could have six people be a part of that at mention. So I don't have to individually at mention six people. I just use the custom tag. Now, how would I use that? Let's say that I'm in the accounts payable channel and I go to a post and I create a new post. So, oops, sorry, I'm going to click start new post and I want to actually at mention the social media or whatever it would happen to be. As soon as I click the at, you can see the individual people, but if I had a specific, like as soon as I typed an S, it now shows me social media. If I choose that custom tag, it tags both the people or all the people that were a part of that custom tag, that at mention. Love that capability. And by the way, you'll notice that the menu is a little bit different here in a post as well. Just like with the chat, they don't have all that bells and whistles because we really don't need all of that, just so you know. So anyway, we've got the loop component. You got the plus sign to do other things like set delivery options. So we can do that even in a post. So if I want to create this right now, but I don't want everybody to see it until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I can set delivery options for this as well, but I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to delete this for right now. I don't really need to keep all of that, but lots of things are very consistently updated across your applications now, which is going to make using this so much easier. But I want to go back to the left-hand side here. We do have instead of the File tab on the left-hand side, the File option, we of course do have OneDrive. If you haven't been using OneDrive directly through here, I love it. I love having it right here in Microsoft Teams because if I'm in Teams doing something, but somebody asks me a question about a file that's in my OneDrive or coming from a different SharePoint site, I can access it directly here through OneDrive. So when I come into OneDrive, on the left-hand side here, this navigation pane, I'm going to click My Files. This is going to show me everything in my OneDrive. And this one called Documents Clinic is a shortcut to a SharePoint document library. So if I click on it, I'm going to see a SharePoint document library without going to that SharePoint site. I could access it through Teams because it is a Teams site, but it automatically can open it directly here. So if I want to utilize any of these files, I can. But just so you notice, when I'm hesitating my mouse on these right now, the menu has changed just a little bit, but I can of course share, but I also have Copilot, or excuse me, and I have a star, so I can add it to a favorites category, just so you know what that is. Otherwise, when I'm hesitating, I'm also seeing conversations that are related to this file. So I love the capability of just hesitating on something and we get all kinds of details. But if, of course, I want to modify it, I can just open it. I don't have to go to SharePoint or anything to do it. Because what if it was coming from a SharePoint communication site? It's not going to be in Teams. It's going to be just available through SharePoint or through OneDrive if I have that shortcut. So of course, live collaboration can be going on with all of these files as well. I'm going to just go to the top right and close it for right now because I'm sure you've probably been into a file that you've done live collaboration with, multiple people in the same file. But I absolutely love the capability of having that available right here in OneDrive through Teams. At the top, because I am in a SharePoint document library, you can see I have open in SharePoint. So if I wanted to open this document library directly in the SharePoint site, I don't have to go back to SharePoint and open it directly from there or go to my internet browser if I had a shortcut for that site across the top. I can do it all from here. So even if it's not a team SharePoint site, it's a communication site, I can still open it directly from here. I just think that, yes, SharePoint can be considered a hub as well, but Microsoft Teams is my go-to for anything that I need to do for collaborating with my coworkers because of the fact that, or external people, because we have everything in one place. So a lot of people say, yeah, I do some chatting, I do some meetings. You really need to take this a little bit further and utilize the full capabilities of what we have here in Microsoft Teams. Now, one other thing that I want to mention, I'm kind of done here with the OneDrive. Things have changed at the top right, no matter where you are in Teams. Doesn't matter if I'm in my calendar, I'm in my calls, whatever the case is. At the top right of the application itself, not the part of the program that I'm in, at the very top right, where you see your profile. If I click on that, don't know why my picture's not there today, but my picture disappeared, but that's okay. When I click on my profile, you can see that it knows that I'm in a meeting, but I could always change my status. I can even set my work location, which, by the way, can be a very important part. And by the way, when you schedule yourself, let's say that I'm a hybrid worker and I'm in the office Monday and Tuesday, but then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm remote. Now in the new Outlook, you can set it up automatically that way. But if I have a random day like today, I'm actually working in the office, but I was supposed to be remote, I can come in and individually change it. So they will show the icon. If you change it to be office or remote, it changes the icon so people know it when they look at your profile. So great way to help them know if you're in the building or not. But anyway, just so you can see, you get these choices. Plus, and let me kind of back up on what I clicked on here. I went to set status message. So if I just ran to the break room, I'll be right back, went to get coffee. I could actually be putting that in. Oops, I didn't spell coffee very well, but just so you can see that you could type in a status message that's going to show up if somebody communicates with you. And I would most likely, and I can say, when do I want this to go away? But just so you could see, I'm going to click done. Also, I could schedule my out of office assistant directly from there without having to go back to Outlook. Crazy how easy things are in Microsoft Teams. But you can see that I'm in a meeting, but I'm going to say I'll be right back. They're going to see I went to get coffee. So I can come back and delete that when I'm back getting my coffee so people know. But I love that capability. If you go to your profile, or I should say your Teams icon down on your taskbar, you can also right click on it and change your availability from here as well. Because what if somebody walks in your office and you want to put on your do not disturb because you want to give them your full attention? Definitely do that, because otherwise it's reading through your calendar. But just so you know, you can override that. But anyway, back to the top right again. There is a menu at the top right that I want you to go to and click settings. If you have not been in here yet, I highly recommend you do, because this is all your settings for Microsoft Teams. Every app has settings and they all work the same now in the updated version of Outlook, that is. But on the left-hand side, whatever you click on will change what you're seeing on the right-hand side. So you definitely want to be going through options to see if it's working with you. You don't want the program to work against you. So I'm going to click calls as an example here, though, because this is where you could record your greeting. So if you're going to have a, voicemail message, like I said, I have the generic one because I like it better than my own voice, but you could record your own greeting. Also, if you kind of look down on these choices, manage out of office voicemail is also a new capability here. So I could say that when my Outlook automatic replies is on, if somebody tries to call me, they will get a different voicemail message than my default. So you can create a custom greeting. Or you could say when I have an out of office event. So when you change, if you create an event and you say it's out of the office, instead of busy, tentative, it will give them this voicemail message. So I think this is absolutely fantastic. And a lot of organizations are getting rid of their desk phones and going to Microsoft Teams for all of their calling capabilities. So great options to have. Just so you can see on the left-hand side, you have a lot of different choices though. So make sure that you're spending a few minutes to go through those.